and welcome to Apex Online Racing. We're here today for round number 2 of Season 3 of PS4 Oceania here on F1 2018, brought to you in partnership with Hype Energy. My name's Alex, and some of you might know me as Curly. I'll be providing the broadcast for you today, and I'm just going to start off with a quick apology in terms of the broadcasting. Unfortunately, I was unable to provide the broadcast for the Australian Grand Prix last weekend. It was due to some technical problems. Basically had server errors that I couldn't get rid of, and unfortunately that meant the stream was unable to go ahead. So we got a little bit to catch up on just before we get underway here in Bahrain. Of course, earlier in the morning than last week as well, due to the time change in Australia. So yeah, we're running at 10 a.m. now for the next few weeks, and then I think on the 28th of October, when the British clocks go forward as well, we're going to be, we're going to be running, I think, at 9 a.m. for the next part of the season. So just keep that in mind once we get to the end of October. But yeah, it was a really great race in Australia last time out, and we'll get onto that in a moment. But first off, there's been a few changes in the league from previous seasons that we just want to run over before we get underway. A couple things to note from They've changed from F1 2017 to 2018. I'm sure that many of you will know this already, but for those that don't, first off, we have the formation lap enabled, as well as the safety car and the virtual safety car. So, yeah, that should spice up the racing a little bit, provide us with some more unpredictability, and definitely with the on the unpredictable point, there has also been a change to the league rules. Now, in previous seasons, the first two seasons of PS4 Oceania and as well for Xbox, the top split did allow some assists. On PS4, we allowed pretty much everything last season and season 1. However, now that we have two tiers, it was decided that both Xbox and PS4 F1 tiers for Oceania would go completely assist free. So they've got absolutely nothing to help them out here. No racing line, no auto gears, nothing like that at all. So on this front, it's kind of shaken up the grid a little bit. In previous seasons, Dubsy won the first season, Maznat won the second. Unfortunately, Maznat is not able to race today, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, those guys seem to be, really the sort of stars of the field. They were right up ahead of everyone else, and had a bit of a gap, it had to be said, over the first couple of seasons. But now that the rules have changed and we're onto a system where there is no racing line, there's no assists at all. Both of those guys were racing line users in the past, along with Sir LGB that finished third last season, and a number of other drivers on the grid. It was, I think, 8 or 9 drivers used the racing line in the past. And what that's meant is for the opening rounds here, and I'm assuming for those guys that have started, they've just started learning without the racing line, they will come back up towards the front of the field as the season progresses. But certainly for the first couple of rounds, things have really been shaken up in the running order, and those drivers that were quite dominant at the front of the field in the beginning kind of fell back a little bit in Australia and didn't have as strong races as they would be used to, and that's given an opportunity for a couple of the newer drivers, or well, some of the older drivers as well, to shine up near the front of the field. And speaking of someone that really came in and did just an outstanding job in Australia, was James H, who, coming in his first race in the league on debut, took pole, led the race pretty much from lights out to the checkered flag, and came away with the win in Australia. A really great drive from him. Stuart McKenzie finished in second, and then we had Contrast in third. I'll just give you a quick rundown of the rest of the results, as we weren't able to broadcast. Darren in fourth, Stylen finished fifth, Pete Crichton, he was sixth, Maznat did finish in 8th, Maznat finished in 7th, MLJH in 8th, Entei in 9th, and Wimpernator in 10th. So, yeah, the grid has been shaken up quite a lot since last season. I mean, for those of you that were around and watching last season, you'll know that it was pretty much Maznat and Dubsy winning nearly every race. There were a couple that went to different drivers, but the overwhelming majority of the first and second places were between those two. And now, no racing line. It's a big adjustment. I know that a lot of the drivers were perhaps taken a little bit by surprise by the change in the ruling. They thought that it might be allowed this season, but it was decided just as the placements came out, really only sort of 5-6 days before the first race, that it would be turned off. So yeah, that did take a couple guys by surprise, and it led to a pretty entertaining yet chaotic Australian Grand Prix. And I'm certain we'll have more of that here this morning in Bahrain. It's a circuit that always provides excellent racing. There's great overtaking opportunities here. Albert Park in Australia, can be kind of tough to pass there unless you have a big pace advantage compared to the driver in front. But at this track, well, you really do have the opportunity to make passes fairly easily, especially down the main straight, the DRS zone. You've got that long back straight before it as well to help you drop and make best use of that slipstream, and then the DRS as well. It's a pretty easy circuit to pass here. But so one point to note on Bahrain is that it's always really tough on the rear tires, and that certainly is the case on F1 2018 as well, perhaps even more than it was on 2017. The drivers have been really struggling with the rear tire wear throughout practice. I've seen this from not just the Australian drivers, but also the drivers in the European leagues and so on, have been really struggling to keep the tires under control here. And for those guys, those guys qualifying on the super soft tire, which is roughly 5, 6, 7 tenths faster than the softs in qualifying, if you want to start on the front couple rows, you pretty much have to start on the super soft tires. But the issue with that is a one stop from super soft is very difficult. It is possible to go from super softs to mediums, pinning around about lap 7 or 8 and just about stretch the medium compound tires to the end, but the drivers would be at severe risk of a puncture at the end of the race. And also at the end of that super soft stint, once you get to about lap 6, 7, 8 on those super softs, it's really, really difficult just to keep the car on track at certain points. The car can get very oversteery as those rear tires wear more than the fronts. It's also a circuit, Bahrain, where you generally want to run a little bit of an oversteering car in qualifying to find that one lap pace, but then you get to the race, and if you have a somewhat of an oversteering setup, it can very quickly get extremely unstable with the high tire wear. So yeah, lots of drivers finding it kind of difficult on the on those super soft tires. So we may see some drivers go for the soft compound tire in qualifying, and they will start a little further back. That should give them a better shot at the one-stop strategy, going soft medium. We saw from the evaluation races in the preseason for the European leagues, that was definitely the fastest strategy on paper. However, it does come with the risk of starting further back. You're going to have to pass those cars in front of you, as well as hope, starting in the midfield, that you don't get involved in any turn 1 incidents, which can be an issue at this circuit. Turn 1 is pretty tight, and there's normally contact in there somewhere between the midfield drivers, whereas if you're up in the front couple of rows, you're normally okay to get through. So yeah, looking on from the Australian race, it was a fantastic event for James. Really impressive drive from him. Qualifying in Australia was wet, very difficult conditions for the drivers. He put it on pole by 3.5 tenths ahead of Frio, who had a great qualifying, has to be said. Unfortunately for him, he didn't finish the race, but well, it's no surprise to see clear skies here in Bahrain, and the drivers, this is a circuit where you can always be absolutely certain that you're going to get clear conditions. I don't think I've ever seen it rain in the desert here, but the other thing to keep an eye on is that Bahrain is the first proper racetrack of the season. Albert Park is a street circuit, and a bit of a strange one at that, being a high-speed street circuit. The walls are pretty close. It drives quite differently from a lot of other tracks on the calendar, whereas Bahrain is a much more standard circuit, and it gives you a better understanding of where the drivers are in relative to one another. So we'll see if James is able to keep up with what he did in Australia, or if he's going to fall back towards the rest of the drivers you know, not quite as strong at this track as he perhaps is at the street circuits. We'll see how that goes. Drivers just warming up the tires, and you do need to do a little bit of weaving around on your outlap just to get the front tires in particular up to temperature before your lap. That's really important to get those tires up to temperature. So who have we got just about to start a lap? Let's hop on board with Grunting Tortoise as he takes us on a lap around Sakir. Coming along this massive main straight, car topping out at well over 300 kilometers an hour, braking just before the 100-meter board, about 110 meters, although he has gone quite deep into turn 1 there. Difficult on the throttle through 2 and 3. You want to be balancing at about 80-90% throttle through there as you come down towards turn 4. Just at this 100-meter board on the left, slow it down to 3rd gear, and then get on the power as hard as you possibly can. It's easy to spin out there, actually. Then into the chicane of 6 and 7. Just missing the apexes slightly, Tortoise, and now it's the hairpin of 8. Again, not quite using the entire track. It's been a stable lap so far, but not particularly quick, I don't think, from Tortoise. Now into the double left-hander of 9 and 10. This is one of the most difficult corners on the entire racing calendar. It's so easy to lock the front left up into there, and the moment that you lock it up, you're just going to get dragged wide. So that was pretty well negotiated from Tortoise into 11. Pretty high speed this. Now up the hill, and you want to be sure you don't touch this inside curb on the right-hander here, because that will almost definitely spin you out. It's pretty much an auto-spin curb on F1 2018, as Tortoise has made a little bit of a meal of the penultimate corner. That's one of the hardest corners on the calendar as well. It's just very difficult to line it up properly. Looking for just after the 100-meter board on the left-hand side there for the final corner, and across the line. Good to maybe keep a little bit of energy in reserve there just for that final run. It is possible to run out of your energy store just before the end of the line, so some drivers making use of medium or high through the slower sections of the track just to give them enough to get them right across the line. But Tortoise, he's done a 28.5, he's just ahead of Wimpernator, but it's actually Contrast that's taken provisional pole at the moment with a 27.1, and I was watching him in practice a little bit earlier on. He seems to have great pace at this circuit. He's half a second clear at the moment. Who can we hop on board with? Dubsy, the former champion, has had a spin. He's not able to complete this lap at the moment. We got James as well, our winner from Australia, and he's in the middle of a lap as well. I'll get you some telemetry up here too, so you can see what he's doing perhaps with the energy stores. He runs a little bit wide through 11. That'll compromise his run up through 12. And oh yeah, we got a Ferrari off there. Is that? No, it's not Dubsy. It'll be his teammate MLGH. And James making use of every inch of circuit here in Bahrain through the penultimate corner. He comes down to really what is the final corner. Technically on the track map it's the penultimate, because this little kink here is counted as a corner, but I don't think anybody really views it as that. As James crosses the line, he goes P4. It's a 27.5 from him, but not quite what he would have expected. He's still 4/10 off of Contrast in first at the moment. We've got Frio as well, who's coming up behind Tortoise, and he's actually had to back out of that lap. The Force India, I don't think, has realised that the Renault was on a lap there, and Frio's had to bail out of it, and yeah, that's cost him dearly. I think it was, you know, in a pretty good spot. They're getting some slipstream off of the Force India, but it looks like Tortoise didn't really see him, and I think he's actually continued on for another lap. Actually, no, he hasn't. So he's in sort of a low mixture there. So it's a good way to keep an eye on whether the drivers are on a lap or not. And apologies for this audio glitch. A little bit frustrating that this is still here in the game at the moment, and hopefully we can get that fixed in a future patch. But yeah, Rumble now, and Rumble was a driver last season in season 2 that you know, showed some great promise through the season, but didn't really hook up the results that he maybe should have had through the middle part of the season, and only really started coming together for him towards the end. So he's one to keep an eye on. He's another one of those guys that had to turn the racing line off at the start of this season, and was taken a little bit by surprise by that rule change. So for him, it's really just about trying to nab points where available. He had a great qualifying in Australia. He qualified 4th actually. In particular, being a wet qualifying, your first race with no racing line, that's pretty impressive. But the race didn't exactly go to plan, and he ended up finishing 11th there. So for Rumble, He's definitely looking to pick up his first points of the season as he runs a little bit wide again through turn 11, and you just want to try and keep your car off of that outside curb. It just, hampers your run up the hill, and then this really difficult penultimate corner. Rumble is nowhere near the apex, and that will cost you a couple of tenths coming down this back straight. Once again, looking for just after the 100-meter board. Turned in, that's really nice line there. Bit of oversteer on the exit, with the car turning nicely for him, and Rumble going to come across the line. Well, where does he go? It's P8 at the moment with the 27.7. Perhaps not quite as high up as he might have expected, but look, it's pretty close here. We've got Ente and Stylen up there in the 27.2s, just behind Contrast in the lead. And then we've got James and Pete. Really from James down to Rumble, there's just 2.5 tenths between 4th and 8th. So that's pretty tight between those guys. Who else have we got possibly on a lap at the moment? Stewart in his Force India. On a lap here, coming down through 9 and 10, a little bit wide there, just missing the apex slightly, but yeah, Stewart's somebody that showed fantastic pace in Australia as well. 7th in qualifying, but finished the race in 2nd place. His race pace was perhaps the best out of anybody in the field, it has to be said. He was really, really quick, so he's one to keep an eye out here for here in Bahrain. And this is a circuit that qualifying, it is important, but not as important as at Albert Park. This is a track where you really want to focus on the race, I would say. Focus on your setup and making sure that you're not overheating those tires, and also that your tire wear itself, not just the temperature, but the wear level is good too, as Stuart McKenzie takes pole position, or provisional pole position, with a 26.8. Beats Contrast by 3 tenths. Really solid lap from him there, and I think there's still a little bit of room for improvement, we saw at least in the middle sector. So great lap from Stewart. Yeah, he puts himself up in that provisional pole. Contrast as well. He's about to start a 2nd lap, so he also doesn't have an engine audio glitch. So let's hop on board with Contrast in the Toro Rosso. Really beautiful car to look at and listen to. I think as Honda engine, one of the best sounding engines on the game and in real life as well. So Contrast coming down towards turn 1. Once again, looking for about 110, 115 meters, somewhere around about there. Gets us slowed down. Interestingly, he's using 2nd gear. We have seen a couple of people use use 1st through turn 1. So he sticks it in 2nd. He's a little bit wide on the apex of 2 though, and that'll cost him a bit of time in this 1st sector. Decent run through 4. Car just squirming a little bit on exit there, as he's done a 28.1 in the 1st sector, and that's maybe not quite what he would have wanted. He's all over the outside curve. That's really dangerous, that curve. So easy to run wide out there, and then the car just kicks off of that curve, particularly if you're running stiff suspensions, or if you're running a low ride height. The car can get very, very unruly there, and it's quite easy to just completely spin off. So that'll be something to avoid in the race with the drivers. Now braking right about 75 meters, but Contrast has missed the apex of turn 11. He runs very wide. That'll cost him a lot of time, as he's now coming up the hill towards the end of the 2nd sector. Won't tell me what his actual 2nd sector time is, but that's pretty good through the penultimate corner. He's coming down towards the final corner. He's actually using overtake on his ERS as well, so that's interesting. And now pretty good final corner. Is he going to improve on his lap time? Contrast crossing the line, and he does improve. It's a 26.6 for Contrast. Really good lap from him. He retakes that provisional pole from Stewart, so great job from him there. Ente joins him up on the front row at 26.8. Just pips Stuart McKenzie as well, so he nabs that. Stylen is on a lap now too. He was somebody that was mentioned a lot in the preseason, that perhaps this rule change, going to no racing line might help him out a little bit. I mean, he showed great pace in the past as well, but he's a little bit more experienced without that racing line than some of the other guys. Yeah, interestingly enough as well, just something to note through this qualifying session, we've currently only have one driver that's qualified on the soft compound tire, and that's MLGH in the Ferrari. We're still waiting on lap times from Dubsy and Frio, so possibly those guys are waiting for the end of the session to go onto the soft compound tires as well. Oh, hold on a moment, never mind, Dubsy's on the Supers. 26.5 for the Ferrari, former champion, setting a marker here in Bahrain. Brilliant lap from him, so he goes up to the provisional pole position now. Lap time starting to get closer and closer. Pete Crichton as well up into 5th. He's done a 26.82 as Stylin's coming through the final sector now. This is looking like a solid lap from the Red Bull driver. He's somebody that's been very quick in qualifying in the past, so we'll see what he's able to do. He's not using that outside curb on the run to the final corner though, and I have seen some drivers way out there getting as much of a widening the track as much as possible. It's a great lap for Stylin at 26.6. He pops himself into 2nd. It's really close up top there. Let's see if anybody else we have on a lap. Pete says he's in hot lap. That doesn't really look like he's pushing there. James is not on a lap either, so yeah, I think pretty much everybody not on laps at the moment. So the second run of qualifying laps is done. Of course, this is an 18-minute session now compared to the 12-minute sessions that we had in the past. So for the drivers, it really is, it's a much less stressful environment as a driver, having 18 minutes and effectively 3 attempts and possibly even 4 attempts at some circuits to get your lap in. As we see Frio trying to nab a tiny bit of slipstream from Dubsy there as he crosses the line to begin his lap. That'll give him maybe a couple extra hundreds, and it might not seem like much, but as we can, we've seen in many qualifyings in AOR in the past, a couple hundreds can be a position or even a couple of positions on the grid, and that's well worth fighting for. But yeah, Frio, he's in here in 17th at the moment. He hasn't set a lap time yet, and he's going to have, he's got a lot to do. He's not left himself a huge amount of time. There's only 4.5 minutes left, so if he's, perhaps invalidates this lap at some point, he's going to have to bail into the pits on this lap. Otherwise, he probably won't have enough time to get another lap in. Before the end of the session. You do really need to re-enter the pits at about 3 minutes if you want to get in and back out again for another run in the final closing moments of the session. The turnaround is a bit quicker on F1 2018 than it was on 2017, but you still need at least a minute to get in the pits, grab some new tires, some more fuel, and then get back out again onto your final qualifying run. But Frio here, he looks as if has he backed out of this? Yes, he has, so he might bail into the pits. Coming into the coming towards the end of this lap, and then look to do a run at the very end of the session. So yeah, Frio not leaving himself much time or really much room for failure either, as he does bail into the pits very late. So there we go. He comes in. Who is going to be on a lap soon? Darren looks like he's going to go on a lap. So yeah, he's actually using overtake there. You can see mode 4 along the straights. He might be one of them that's doing something a little bit tricky with the ERS management and making use of that overtake. Slightly better straight line speed, although he does have the Force India right in his way coming into turn 1. But yeah, overtake does give you a little bit better straight line speed through sort of 7th and 8th gear. However, it uses more of that energy, so you need to save energy elsewhere on the lap if you want to have enough for the final sector. Though he might drop down into mode 2 or mode 3 at some point during the lap, just to give himself enough energy for those straights at the end of the circuit. Yeah, I just seen 1 or 2 comments mentioning with the engines. That is just an audio glitch from the spectator cam, particularly noticeable in qualifying. It's not that they're revving the engines out this high intentionally. That the engine will be running normally for them. It's just from the spectator point of view. The engine node is a little bit off. It's just a glitch in the game. Darren puts himself up into 7th place with just 2 minutes remaining in the session. I think that will be his final run of the qualifying session with a 26.8 there, so it's a decent effort from him, but these guys are really close. So who have we got on laps now? Contrast is on a lap. Stuart McKenzie's pulled into the pits, so his qualifying session is done. So he will at best be second place, and Contrast will certainly look to get himself up there onto the front row of the grid. Running down into turn 9 and 10. That's a pretty good line. They're really pushing the car on traction. Contrast giving it absolutely everything on his final run here, braking just before that 50-meter board, throws the car into turn 11, maybe a little bit deep, but I think it's a better line than he had on the previous lap. Now up the hill, get as close to that inside curb as you dare without touching it. He's had a bit of a big twitch of oversteer though on the entry to the penultimate corner. He's run really, really wide there. That's cost him a lot of time. The rear end just stepping out. He's got a Ferrari almost in his way as well. Possibly on the run to the line. MLJH, we'll see if Contrast managed to get a little bit of a toe from him, not too much, but he's going to cross the line. Is it an improvement for Contrast? It isn't. He's not able to improve, so it's only P4 for Contrast there. Who have we got else on a lap? Stylin's on a lap. Dubsy's about to start one. Very end of the session for him. He's leaving everything to the last moments. So Stylin there. I think he's the front one out of the lead guys in terms of their final lap, so we'll hop on board with this Red Bull through the middle sector. And this is really where you're going to make up the majority of your time on the qualifying lap itself. Down through the hairpin, beautiful line there from Stylin, then hard on the power up the hill as you come back down now towards turns 9 and 10, using a lot of curb there on the entry almost. That's a bit of an odd line, but also a little bit of curb on exit. You definitely want to try and avoid that curb. Getting the traction on the tarmac is certainly better than doing so on the Rumble. But yeah, Stylin now really the only one I think that can possibly challenge Dubsy for pole here now that Contrast lap didn't go to plan. He's in fourth through the penultimate corner. This is looking pretty good from Stylin. He's got pretty good pace here it seems, and now down to the final corner, just after the 100-meter board. Once again, clip this inside curve and then just get hard on the power as you dare. Bit of a twitch of oversteer, needs to correct it there. But is Stylin going to take pole here in Bahrain? No, he is not. He's not able to improve on his lap time either. So let's see, who else have we got? Pete is just about to finish his lap, but he's run really wide in the final corner. He's gone deep, and that's certainly thrown away his lap. But yeah, look at him weaving. He's furious with himself. I think he was set possibly to improve, and he's not able to. So yeah, Pete just unable to get the lap in there. So Dubsy, he's already on pole. Can he improve again in the Ferrari? You better believe it. A 26-1 for Dubsy, 4/10 clear of the rest of the field. And the man that was, well, a little bit unhappy about the preseason rule change. He struggled a bit in Australia. Look at that, he's on pole in Bahrain with a great lap time at 26.1, and the Ferrari will be leading from the front here in the desert. What a great lap from Dubsy, and once again showing that in those final moments of qualifying, when other drivers falter and struggle when the pressure is at its highest, Dubsy, he's right there to take the advantage and nab that pole position. What a great lap from him. 4/10 clear of the rest of the field. But yeah, it's Dubsy on provisional pole. Stewart will be alongside him on the front row. Good opportunity into turn 1 there on the inside. Stylin in third with Contrast alongside him. Entei and Pete in 5th and 6th. Darren in 7th. LJB in 8th. James down in 9th after winning on Australia. Rough qualifying for him. Wimpinator in 10th. Pure Gold gets the first free choice of tyres. That's a really good spot to be in. Rumble in 12th. Tortoise 13th. Tomato 14th. MLJH in 15th. Chucky in 16th. And Frio with no time set is going to be down there in 17th place. MLJH, the only person to qualify on the soft tyres, and he stuck with that. He didn't improve throughout the entirety of the rest of the session, so he definitely wants to start on the soft compound tyres. And I'm assuming that all of those outside the top 10 are going to start on either the softs or the mediums. I would guess that, and I think that they'll one stop, but we'll see if any of the drivers try something a bit different. I mean, it's hard to say what those inside the top 10 will do. I think that one or two might try and hang on for the one stop and possibly try to take those the supers and then onto the mediums, lap 7 or 8, and then drag those mediums to the end of the race, and they're going to be at risk of a puncture, but it is probably a little faster than doing the two-stop strategy, just because the two-stop is so much, you lose so much time in the pits. It's 26 seconds in the pit lane on the well, for a regular pit stop here in Bahrain. So for those drivers on the two stop, they're going to need to make up a huge amount of time on track if they want to. If they want to catch up to those guys on the one stop. Now, for the drivers outside of the top 10, they've got probably the best choice of strategy available to them. As we do get the formation lap underway. But yeah, the soft medium strategy, or I guess medium soft, is the fastest strategy in terms of overall race time. However, those guys are going to have to pass a lot of cars if they want to get good points here. But look at that. Every single driver outside of the top 10 has gone onto the soft compound tires for the race. So nobody going for the mediums, nobody aiming to run really, really long. But yeah, all those guys on the softs, and yeah, that's certainly interesting. I would have expected some of those guys maybe down in 15th, 16th, 17th, for example, to go onto the medium compound tires and try and run past the halfway point. But it seems like everybody in the top, well, outside the top 10 is gone for those soft compound tires and really wants to perhaps get the overcut on some of the super soft runners. That is something you can do at this circuit if you save up a little bit of your energy on the soft. Once it gets to around about lap 6, 6 through 10, you can push really hard on the soft compound tires and actually overcut the guys on supers that are attempting to one stop, because those guys on the supers, they'll have a really tough time on lap 7 and 8, and then they'll go on to mediums. But the mediums they're not quick at the start of the stint, especially the first two sectors on them. The mediums come out of the pits, they're pretty cold, it's tough to get temperature into them, and yeah, that first two sectors on the medium compound tires on the outlap can be a bit sketchy. So for those drivers that are possibly going from supers to mediums, they're going to have to be aware of that. Of course, the soft tire runners will probably need to deal with that as well, but we will see what they do in terms of strategy. I'm expecting to see some two-stoppers here, particularly those guys inside the top 10. A couple of them will probably two-stop, so yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think that if you are going to two-stop, you need to pit pretty early. You want to be pitting probably lap 5, probably 4, 5, 6 at latest, and then get on a set of soft compound tires and probably run a super soft strategy. And while that might not give you, the theoretical best race time, if you can do that and get yourself in clean air and push with a free and open track, then that can give you a good opportunity for good points, possibly even a podium or even a win. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, for those guys that do have to bail onto the two-stop, it might be quite difficult for them to beat out the one-stoppers. But we will have to see 29 laps here in Bahrain as we're about to get underway for round number 2. It's Season 3 of AOR Oceania on PS4. We're at 5 lights. And it's lights out in the desert. Dubsy straight away, drive-through penalties, jumped the start from pole position. So the Ferrari driver did everything he needed to, got a fantastic qualifying lap in, and he's thrown it away already. He'll have to serve that drive-through in the first 3 laps of the race. Styling negotiating turns 1, 2, and 3 quite well there, as there's a lot of carnage in the midfield. And here we go. Yeah, Stalin right on the back of Stewart already, putting a little bit of pressure onto him. Contrast right up behind, as we've got a couple drivers. Pure Gold with a phenomenal start on the soft compound tires. He's up to 8th place already, as we had a couple of incidents a little further back. But yeah, look at this. Sauber up the inside of Ente. That's Pete getting a very aggressive move done on Ente. Those guys battling through the middle sector. Some really good racing already on lap 1, as Stylin and Contrast are battling for the podium positions already. Contrast up ahead of Stylin. Is Stylin going to throw it up the inside going into turn 11? I think that he will, and he does get a little bit later on the brakes up the inside on Contrast, and now he's going to have to hang it all the way around the outside of turn 12. A little risky to try that. He sensibly backs out of it. Oh, almost loses the rear end of the car. Look at that. What a move from Darren, one of the newer drivers on the grid. Very opportunistic, but what a fantastic overtake from the Sauber. These Sauber drivers really making some moves early on. Stylin coming back at him though. Going to get a better exit, I think, with the wider line out of the final corner. But Contrast is in trouble here. He's going to have a tough time holding on to this position down the main straight. Will he go defensive into turn one? He does, right to the inside of the track, as Darren's got to pretty much back out of it. Contrast running really deep into the corner, though, and there's contact between Stylin and the Sauber, and it looks like he's lost a little bit of ground. There's contact again between himself and the, well, both Saubers really in one corner, as Stylin is still trying to hang on to this this fourth position, battling it really hard with Darren, as contact again between the two of them, and that should allow the Red Bull to hang on to P4 for now. But it's been great starts for both of these Sauber drivers, Darren and Pete. They're relatively new into the league, but no, Stylin is off. He's spun it around. I'm not even going to try and catch that as he falls down the timing board, but he is off of the circuit and down into 15th place. Absolute heartbreak for him. He just maintains that position. You know, he's fought so hard to hold on to P4 and then loses the rear of the car as he comes through the chicane, and he is off and down into 15th place. So that's not at the start that he wanted at all. And well, yeah, he's really kind of throwing that away a little bit, just struggling to deal with the pressure put on him by the Sauber pairing in 4th and 5th. Look at this, we've got a McLaren pairing right behind them as well. These guys all really close on track. Look at that, we've got a DRS train from Contrast all the way down to Rumble in 10th place. So this is looking really, really good. Racing wise, a couple of those soft runners as well. Pure Gold did end up losing a position on those laps as Dubsy streaking out in front, but remember, Dubsy has to pit this lap. He's got to pit for that drive-through penalty, and that's going to drop him a really long way back through the field. Now, a drive-through is not normally as long as a regular pit stop, but it's still going to cost him about 20 seconds overall in the race time. So Dubsy, he's going to fall. Well, he's probably going to fall back to about 16th, 17th place most likely. So yeah, for Dubsy, that's an absolute disaster for him, as Entei now getting, well, both Entei and LGB getting very close to the cars in front of them. The Saubers and McLarens here really battling pretty hard, but it's been great racing so far in the opening laps here in Bahrain. Now, Stuart McKenzie is effectively in the net lead of the race with Dubsy's drive-through penalty. Then needs to serve Contrast then, effectively P2. Then we've got the two Saubers in 3rd and 4th, Entei in 5th and 6th, really. Of course, it's one position lower at the moment, but Dubsy is going to lose a lot of positions on this lap when he comes into the pits. Pure Gold just struggling to hang on to the back of James right now. Now, the soft compound tyres, they should be quicker than the super softs, come up at lap 4, so expect to see this group of soft runners start to close back up towards the super soft runners pretty soon, even starting from around about now, to be honest. He's got to worry about Rumble behind him in 10th place, and then Frio is right on the back of these guys. He's at a storming start. I think he started in last, so yeah, Frio already up in 11th. Great running from him. As now we go back towards this, well, towards the front group, and are we going to see some kind of, you know, team orders possibly here? Pete right up behind Darren? No, Darren got some great straight line speed. He does, of course, have the DRS as well. Maybe a little bit of a toe from Contrast, but he's able to stay well ahead of his teammate as the two McLarens battling into turn 1, but LJB not able to get the move done on Entei, and does that offer up an opportunity for James? LGB has to go defensive to the inside on turn 4. James later on the brakes. He's going to look for a bit of a cutback. Short shifts to 4th, looking for that better traction. He's right up behind LGB, but he's not close enough to get any kind of move done. So he's just going to have to stick in the slipstream for now. And it's really important for these guys. You know, the dirty air through the middle sector, it does make a big difference. Oh, sorry, as Darren's had an issue there up ahead. He's dropped a couple of positions now. So he's down into P5, and that gives Entei a position. So he's now up into the top 4 of this race. James taking a huge amount of curb there. Darren seems to be struggling a little bit as well. Maybe he's overcooked those super soft tires. It's very easy to do, to overheat those if you're aggressive on the traction. LJB, yeah, look at that. Darren, the rear of that car just wiggling about up the hill. Oh, look at it again. LJB is going to have a look possibly into the penultimate corner. No, he's not. He's not quite close enough, but James is going to have a much better exit. The McLaren and the Sauber compromising each other through the penultimate corner. And here we go. James looking up past possibly 1, maybe 2 cars, just 1 for now, but he's going to have the DRS on LJB along the main straight, so possibly he'll be able to get
get a move done here as well, as we've got a battle. Oh, actually, no, never mind. That's Contrast bailing into the pits on lap 4 for him. So very early pit stop from Contrast. That's definitely a 2-stop strategy from the Toro Rosso driver, as James is going to try and hold it all the way around the outside at turn 1. Does he get the move done? Not quite. LJB hangs on to P4 for now, and James still in that overtake mode, looking to get a move into turn 4 possibly. He's not quite close enough. He's just going to have to slot in behind LJB at the moment. I think these guys maybe need to work together a little bit and see if they can catch back up to this leading group. They're very, very close at the moment, and LJB will be keen to get back after his teammate, who's on the podium at the moment, and well, very, very close to the Sauber of Pete as well. So yeah, here we go. James is still really, really close, just a couple tenths behind, and these guys, they've got to worry about the soft runners. Now Rumble, he's past Pure Gold and he's called back up to this leading group. So yeah, the soft runner is already gaining at the moment. Up front we got Stewart. He's just cruising out in front. He's got pretty much a 3-second advantage over the rest of the field, so he's looking in a good spot at the moment. As Stylen is making his way back through along with Dubsy. Those guys obviously dropping a lot of positions. Dubsy due to the drive through, Stylen due to his spin. They're slowly progressing their way back up through the field. We'll certainly be looking for some strong points today, even with the issues that they've had. But James now, he's still within that DRS range of LJB as Pete bails into the pits. On lap, well, that would be lap 5 when he came in. It's lap 6 now, is that basis off of the leader. And James once again looking around the outside. LGB does a good job to defend the inside, but he's not able. Oh, sorry, hold on a moment. LGB's lost the car on traction off of one of the curves there at turn 3, and that gives James the position. He's now up onto the podium, and here goes Rumble in the Haas down the inside at turn 4. Beautiful move on the soft compound tires. Look at these soft runners, they're already passing some of the front runners on the super softs. Now obviously LGB's problem there helping out Rumble with getting past him, but Rumble, he started I think in 12th place, is now up to 4th already, and looks to have really good pace at the moment. Beautiful shot here from the helicopter camera, and we see there as well Pure Gold taking a really tight line through 9 and 10 as LGB is all over the curbs on exit. Frio too, he's up there in overtake mode as well. Breaking down into 11. Pure Gold hits the apex nicely, doing a better job of hitting it than LJB, who's really starting to struggle on these super soft tires. And yeah, those tires are going to be towards the end of their life now. If you want to make the one stop, they still need to take them a couple laps further though. So I think for the likes of LJB, they can't worry too much about battling at the moment. They've got to try and hold on to the position. Not hold on to the position, but they've got to try and eat these tires out and not worry too much about the position at the moment. But look at the run that Frio got out of that final corner. And Pure Gold, who was aiming to have a look at LJB along the straight, now finds himself having to defend into turn 1 from the Renault. Frio very late on the brakes. And there we go, he does get the move done, and Dubsy side by side with Grunting Tortoise as well. Oh, it's contact between the two of them. Tortoise has absolutely smacked that inside curb, and hit Dubsy, runs pretty deep into the corner. Very borderline on whether that was fair or not. I think he just about left Dubsy enough space, but I don't know if that would have knocked some of Dubsy's front wing off. The way that Dubsy is chasing him, maybe it looks like not. But yeah, Dubsy and Stylen, these guys in a really difficult position in terms of the tires. They're jammed in this big sort of soft running group, but for those guys, they're on the supers, so yeah, those tires very, very much at the end of their life now. But Silent Dubsy all over the back of Grunting Tortoise, who seems to be struggling quite a lot. I don't know if he has wing damage. Yeah, he does have wing damage. You can see there on the front left, on his front wing. So Tortoise struggling with a damaged car. Here we have side by side up through turn 11 and 12. They're going to hold it all the way, surely. Pure Gold passing LJB, possibly. Oh, LJB, I thought he lost it for a moment, but no, he gets it under control, and Pure Gold nabs the position. What a beautiful move from the Mercedes driver all the way around the outside. And hold on a moment, here we go. Rumble is right on the back. Oh, sorry. That's totally wrong. James is right on the back of Entei, and James now takes the net lead Entei in the pits. So what happened to Stuart McKenzie? Stuart McKenzie's gone on to the 2-stop as well, so he's on the softs. Completely missed his pit stop. So yeah, Stuart McKenzie are sort of provisional, I guess, net race leader. But if he's on a 2-stop, then he may not actually be the net race leader. Some of these guys on the soft compound tires, if they go for the 1-stop strategy, they may well actually find themselves in the net race lead. So it really depends on what kind of strategy that Rumble and Frio do, and James as well. If he's up there on lap 8 on a set of super soft tires, I think he's definitely in that realm of 1-stopping. Going to the mediums on lap 8, if he pits this lap, depending on how good his tire wears, if he's really kind to his tires, he might even be able to take these supers an extra lap. But yeah, I mean, if he can take these hop onto the mediums and then try and run to the very end of the race. It's a long way to go, more than 20 laps still left, but yeah, I mean, I think for him, he's in a pretty good spot at the moment. Stuart McKenzie's going to have to make the absolute most out of these new tires, as Pure Gold and LJB are still battling away for 4th and 5th place. LJB, look at the rear of his car stepping out through 11 and now up through 12, and this is the corner that's been causing a huge amount of issues in practice. He had to lift off a little bit there. Just to try and stop that car from stepping out. We'll keep an eye on James. What is he going to do as he comes across, or comes around the final corner? Is he going to dive into the pits? He does. So James mills into the pits. That'll give Rumble the lead of the race, followed by Frio, who's got a great run on him. He's up in overtake, and Rich Mix, you would assume, looking for the inside. Rumble thinks about defending it, and then thinks better. As these guys are side by side in the braking zone, Frio is up and through into the lead of the race, and will Rumble be able to do anything perhaps down towards turn 4? I don't think he's quite close enough to get the move done. He does pop it up into overtake, but it's not going to be enough. Very late on the brakes though. Does miss the apex slightly there, maybe not used to the the lack of stopping power when you're following another car. You do have to brake a little bit earlier if you're close behind, but there we go, Frio up into the lead of the race, and then we go last little group of guys that started on the softs, Pure Gold and Harry Tomato there, and then we go the first of the people that have already pit, Stuart McKenzie, but we think he is on a 2-stop, same with Contrast and Pete, and then Darren as well. So our leading medium runner at the moment is actually Stylen. James has gone on to the soft tires. That's interesting. Okay, so James, I think, is going to be on a 1-stop strategy. Sorry, on a 2-stop strategy. Yeah, so James on a 2-stop strategy, and he's right up on the back of Entei. But I don't know. I mean, if you go 8 laps into the race, that's you would think that would lead towards doing a onto the mediums and a 1-stop. But apparently he doesn't agree with that. Doesn't feel like he has much confidence on those medium compound tires either. Well, probably to get them to the end, but maybe also pace-wise, they do feel very different from the softer compounds of tires at this circuit. You'd have to push them quite hard to really get them into the perfect operating range. And when you're making them, trying to make them last, it's a delicate balance on that front. But he's up behind Entei at the moment. These guys slowly catching up to Chucky, who's still yet to stop on these soft compound tires. So we got a few guys on the mediums. Wimpinator had to pit early, and then Stylen and Dubsy, the other guys that seem to be trying a 1-stop, but they're quite a long way back at the moment, as Rumble has had some kind of problem, because he's lost a lot of ground to Pure Gold, and that gives Frio a big lead out front. So I don't know if there was some contact going into turn 1 possibly between the Haas and the Renault there, but those guys are... well, I mean, Frio is pulled away a long, long way, and Rumble now finds himself stuck behind Pure Gold. And whoa, Stuart McKenzie has hit the back of Harry Tomato, and has that given him some wing damage? You would assume it would. So our net... well, possibly net race leader, at least the leader on the 2-stop, though looking at that front wing, it doesn't look too bad. It's hard to see because of the halo, so maybe he got away with it. I'd be amazed if he doesn't have damage from that, but he's up into P5 already, and it now goes to the move on Tomato. So Stuart McKenzie getting good work done on these soft compound tires. He needs to catch up to these leading runners as quickly as he possibly can. So looking in a pretty good spot. Tomato will have to focus now on Contrast behind him as we do go on to lap 10. Coming towards lap 11, so for these guys on the softs, you would assume they are carrying on for the 1-stop strategy onto the medium compound tire. So Frio, he carries on, same with Pure Gold, but Rumble, he's looking for the pit lane. Rumble going into the pits, so Is this going to be a two-stop from starting on the softs, Rumble, or is he going to hop onto the mediums now? We'll see. But not quite as far into the race as we thought he might go. Stuart McKenzie giving Harry Tomato a nice tow down the main straight there, as we'll try and keep an eye on. Oh, he almost runs in the back of him, actually. Caught out a little bit there under braking, and now this might give an opportunity to contrast, to possibly get a good run, but he just goes up to overtake now, so Rumble does go into the medium tyres. Look at that run that Contrast gets. Phenomenal straight line speed in the Toro Rosso. Runs really deep into turn 4, but he does get the move done. Harry Tomato's tyres are quite a bit older, and it just seems to be lacking grip a little bit at the moment. Contrast up into 4th. So, as things stand at the moment, we got Frio and Pure Gold leading the way. Then we've got Stewart and Contrast. Now they've already pit once, so those guys are both on a 2-stop strategy. They're roughly about 10-11 seconds off of the lead at the moment from Frio. So Frio, if he goes onto those medium compound tires, it basically means that the Contrast and Stewart, they need to make up 10 seconds, 10-11 seconds on track if they want a chance of winning this race, discounting any possibilities of penalties. So for those guys, they've got a lot of work still to do, but they're not in too bad of a position to do it. They will have softer and fresher tyres for the rest of the race, as Pete now coming up behind Harry Tomato. Now will Harry Tomato pit? Front two carry on. Harry Tomato carries on. He's just mirroring what those front guys are doing. They'll probably just let Pete go past here. Yeah, there we go. The Sauber down the inside into turn 1, and Tomato doesn't even bother fighting it at all. He's backed off completely on that straight. Allows Pete to get the racing line through turn 1. So I think that's smart driving from Tomato. He's not really fighting Pete right at the moment. Possibly in the second stint if he's on the mediums and Pete ends up behind him again, because there's a possibility that the guys going onto the mediums might get a little bit of an undercut for a few laps on these 2-stoppers. He runs very, very wide there. He seems to have some difficulty, I think, with the car at the moment, as Harry Tomato. Ente now in 7th place, as we've got Darren and James behind him. James looking like he's got some great pace in terms of the race here, but he ran much longer on the super soft tires compared to most of the other 2-stoppers. In particular, he's got 4-lap fresher tires compared to Darren, who pit pretty early. So James is in a pretty good spot here. He might go for possibly super softs in the final stint of the race, looking at his tire wear, but we'll see as he's in this little train now with Darren and Ente in front of him, and then they've got a few seconds ahead of him to the next car and a few seconds behind them to the next pair of cars as well, which is LJB trying to find his way past Chucky at the moment. But we'll stay on board with James, because he's looking, so he's going to eye up Darren going down towards turn 1, runs a bit deep into the corner, but he still manages a better exit than the Sauber. Of course, the Sauber is going to get the slipstream and DRS off of Ente, but James is going to get a better slipstream. He's closer to the car in front of him, and here we go down into turn 1. Will he be far enough ahead to get the move done into 1? I think so, just about. Darren looking for a bit of a switch back there. I don't think he's quite close enough. Is he going to put it back up to overtake and try and get a re-overtake on him? He doesn't. So James nabs P7 for now, and these guys, still got quite a lot of work to do if they want to catch up to some of the 1-stoppers. Really, a couple of those guys have pit. So Harry Tomato came into the pits. They got a group of 1-stoppers behind them, Style and Dubsy. I think MLGH is on the 1-stop as well, although he's quite a long way back. Rumble has had to pit again. What on earth has gone on here? Rumble stopped a huge amount of time, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on for him, but looking further back up the field now, James on the back of Ente. Now Ente was one of the later pitters onto the soft tires. His tires only 1 lap older than James, but James seems to have some phenomenal race pace at the moment. Tough qualifying for him, especially considering that he won the race in Australia, but he's definitely coming back at a number of these drivers in this race, and is now right on the back of Ente, and surely will get the move done along the main straight coming into turn 1. He's just going to focus on getting a good exit out of this final corner, which he does. That's a great run out of the final corner. Pure Gold in the pits. Frio carries on, actually, but here we go. James now, he's up in overtake, and Rich looking at for the inside line into turn 1. and they will hopefully get the move past for him. They're actually side by side, really late on the brakes there for Entei, and Entei hangs on to the position. Wow, wasn't expecting that at all. But here we go, another opportunity now for James. He's going to look for the inside into turn 4, and surely this will give him the position. He's later on the brakes this time. Entei still trying to hang it around the outside, and he is just about given the room by the Williams driver as they're side by side into the chicane, but Entei has to give it up. He's not able to hang it around the outside there, and James nabs the position, so he's up into 5th now, and he's got 5 seconds ahead of him to Pete Crichton. So yeah, we'll see if James is able to make up any ground on that on the car in front of him. The Entei now, I think for him, he's probably just got to hang in the slipstream if he can for James. You know, it's quite easy to stay with the car in front of you, even if they're a little bit quicker, so long as you just stay within that slipstream and you know, kind of draft behind them along the main straights. There's a lot of straights here in Bahrain, so yeah, you can definitely stick with the car, also make use of DRS, and possibly even get towed along. You see there, James already taking a couple attempts out of Pete in front of him, so he might have the pace to catch up. Now, looking further up the field, Stewart is still trying to catch Frio, who is still carrying on to lap 15 on the soft compound tyres. That's really interesting from him. He's running really long into this race. I don't know if he's going to try and go to the super softs at the end. That would be a pretty crazy strategy. I've not seen anybody try that before on this game at Bahrain. But yeah, I would assume he's going to go into the mediums, but he's run more than half the race already on the soft. So I don't know. Questionable strategy here from Frio, but we'll see how it turns out. His pace still seems pretty decent on these soft compound tires. Sure, it is catching, but his tires are much younger. Although he's actually caught quite a lot on this lap. I think 7/10 in the first sort of half of the lap already, so he's got great pace. Contrast in 3rd, Pete in 4th, with James behind him in 5th. Entei just kind of drafting behind James here in 6th at the moment. We've got Darren in 7th, LGB in 8th, and then we've got Stylen in 9th. We think that Stylen is trying the one-stop here, so he is actually the leader of the one-stoppers that has made a pit stop. Pure Gold in 10th. He's got Dubsy behind him in 11th place. You remember, had that drive-through penalty off the start. Yeah, absolute calamity of a first lap for Dubsy, but he's desperately trying to find some points here in Bahrain. He didn't get any from Australia. He DNF'd from that race, and if Dubsy were to finish the first 2 races of the season with no points at all, well, that would be what a huge change that would be from the last 2 seasons, you have to say. Then we got Hera Tomato in 12th, Chucky in 13th, and then Wood Predator in 14th, and a pretty big gap to the bottom 3 still running at the moment, which are Tortoise, MLJH, and Rumble, who's on the soft compound tires. I think he's broken a wing or 2 in this race. He's dropped a long way back, but yeah, so here we go. Darren, he's in the pits. Now, he was one of the first guys on the 2-stop to pit, so he's back in. He's got 13 laps to go in this race. Which tires is he going to go for? I would assume it's another set of the soft compound tires. No, it's the mediums. So he doesn't feel like he's got the tire wear to get the sauce at the end of the race from even this point. So Darren having some tire wear problems, certainly. He hops onto the mediums, and he's going to come back out onto the track in P11. No, he's got really fresh tires, so he might actually be able to chase after the likes of Pure Gold and Dubsy. Dubsy has just passed Pure Gold. These two battling away. Pure Gold with better tires. Dubsy seems like he's got a little bit better pace at the moment, and he gets that position. Ahead of these guys, we've got Stylen, who's just about keeping tabs on the group in front of him, or LGB at least. James and Entei just a few seconds ahead of him, but Stylen, now let's see how far off the lead he is. Oh wow, so that's interesting. So Stylen's 23 seconds off the lead, so that means when Frio pits, Frio is going to come out pretty much on top of him. So we'll see if he's able to get the position done. Stylen needs to find, I don't know, maybe another second to be pretty much sure of getting the position off of Frio, depending on how good Frio's pit stop is. But Frio's still carrying on. He's still going. So I think, I don't know, I feel like he's going to try to go super softs at the end. If he's run 17 laps on a set of soft compound tires, that surely must be what he's thinking of. I don't know why he'd go mediums at this point. So Frio with some unbelievable tire wear at the moment. We've got a couple guys in the pit, so Contrast is pit. Pete has pit. He's gone into the medium tires as well. A couple guys going onto the mediums here for their second stint. Maybe not able to get the softs working properly. So up goes Dubsy, and then Pure Gold as well. Where's Pure Gold going to come out in relation to Contrast? Contrast takes that position. So Contrast now the leading driver out of those that have made their second pit stop. Still got to wait for Stewart to get into the pits. But Contrast doing pretty nicely here. He needs to make quick work out of Dubsy and then push on and try and catch the likes of Stylen. But Stylen is in a really good spot here because, you know, Contrast, he's still, what's that, 9 seconds behind him. So, yeah, Contrast has got a lot of work to do in these final 12 laps if he wants to catch up to Stylen. Never mind the likes of Stewart and Frio. Because Frio, whatever he does in terms of his tyre strategy, is going to be rapid towards the end of this race. Speaking of that battle up there for the lead, Stewart is now, he's closed it into 5.5 seconds. About 4 or 5 laps ago, that was 8.5, so he is quicker. Frio, he carries on again. Unbelievable. So I don't think I've ever seen that really take a set of soft tires 18 laps at Bahrain, but here we go. Frio is certainly looking for super softs at the end of this race. Really interesting strategy from him. Stewart still catching him on the fresher soft compound tires. We'll see what he goes for in terms of the tire strategy towards the end of this race as James is in the pits. So James has gone for a really quite a short stint on this soft compound set of tires. He's only done 9 laps on them. Oh, he's got to get a front wing change. That's why the stint is shorter. So on goes a new front wing in the Williams and a brand new set of soft compound tires. Those will definitely take him to the end. But that's a very long pit stop, so he's going to drop back quite a long way. As we got Contrast passing Dubsy. Dubsy ran really deep into turn 1, and that gives Contrast the position. So Contrast now up into 6th place. He's made his final stop, so he's got 9 seconds ahead of him to Stylen. See if he's able to claw that gap in, because, you know, brand new soft tires, he should be 1 second a lap faster than Stylen, you would think, through this stint. You can see he's, you know, knocking 10ths off every single time it updates at the moment on Stylen, as Rumble has retired from the session. So I think he's called it a day here in Bahrain. His race was looking pretty promising early on. He was right there with Frio on the soft compound tires, but his race clearly not going to plan, and he finishes finishes early and in 17th place essentially. But yeah, Contrast, he's taken half a second out of Stylen this lap already. Stylen still hanging with LJB here, so he's got great pace on these medium compound tires. He's not dropped off the back of LJB at all, and you know, LJB's a pretty quick driver, so this Red Bull is flying at the moment on the medium compound tires. Now here we go, the leaders are into the pits. So Frio has gone for the super soft compound tires in that Renault. Stewart, he's on the softs. These guys are pretty close. So Stewart must have made some great ground on that final lap of the race. Now whereabouts Stylen is up ahead of these guys. Whereabouts is Contrast actually. Contrast, he's not gonna pass them, but he's gained a huge amount of ground on Stewart with that undercut. If he's able to get within the DRS, possibly on this lap, he needs to find another couple of tenths through this first sector while Stewart's tyres are still a little bit cold. But if he is able to get up there in the DRS, he might be able to hang on to Stewart until the end of the race. And who knows, if 1 or 2 drivers have penalties, there might be an opportunity for them there. We've also got Pete right on the back of Pure Gold. Pete on brand new medium tyres. He'll be able to push those extremely hard to the end of the race. He can basically drive flat out on those tyres. No worries about tyre wear or probably even temperature on the mediums at this point in the race. Down the inside, gets the move done, gives Pure Gold a little bit of a squeeze on exit, and that is P7 for Pete. These Saubers have had a pretty chaotic race throughout all of it, but yeah, he's doing a good job here up into 7th. And now who have we still got waiting to pit? I think it's just LJB now out of this leading bunch that still has to pit. We think that Stylen's going to the end. We think that Dubsy is going to the end. So it really is just LJB. We'll see how long that he carries on for, as Contrast has actually caught up to the back of Stewart. So he's doing a great job on this lap. Lead on the brakes down into the final corner, focusing on the exit, gets a good exit, but then Stewart does as well. These new tyres really paying dividends for these drivers. Is he going to try to get the move done? He's very low on energy, but he is going to have a look up the inside into turn 1. Here we go, the Toro Rosso down the inside, very late on the brakes. Oh, he almost loses the car, too heavy on the throttle, bit of a lead foot there, and that gives Stewart the position back. To Contrast, he had a real go at it, but he's going to save some of his energy now. Both these guys pretty low, whereas Frio, well, look at that, Frio's got lows, he's got brand new super soft tyres, he's only 3 seconds behind Stylen. You'd have to say that this Renault is probably the favourite to win the race at the moment. He's got 9 laps to catch styling up in well, pretty much every single thing you could possibly have at your disposal available to him. So he's in a great position. And Stylen, who, remember, Stylen had that spin earlier on in the race, and he's now up in the lead. So, yeah, this Red Bull, what a phenomenal drive that he's had. And, you know, regardless of where he finishes, I think at this point, you got to kind of take your hat off to him, because what a fantastic recovery it's been. But his focus will absolutely be on the Renault behind him, and that delta between the two drivers, and how much that is coming down. It's just sitting at about just over 3 seconds at the moment. So Frio maybe just needs to get his foot down a little bit more, getting used to these super soft tires. But Stylen doing a great job. Contrast still within the DRS range of Stewart, but he's not as close this lap as he was on the previous lap. You can see he's done a bit of energy saving there. He is within the DRS, but he's nowhere near close enough to getting an overtake done. And yeah, he's just got to settle in 4th place at the moment and hope that himself and Stewart can start to catch up to Frio and Stylen. It does seem like Frio's not catching them quite as quickly as we thought. He's coming in, you know, it started about 4/10, but it's not quite as fast as we were expecting. I was expecting probably 1.5, 2 seconds a lap, but it doesn't look like it's quite as much. So Stylen's making those medium tires work really well, and if you do take good care of those mediums and have them in the right operating range, then they do actually get faster as the stint goes on. So yeah, Stylen's still looking pretty good, but Frio, he is edging into that lead now, and you can see he's just saving up some of his energy here. He's got a lot, especially compared to Stylen. He's at 33. Yeah, pretty much everybody around him all at about 30% energy, whereas Frio, he's sitting with more than 70%. So I think he's just trying to save some energy now. He's just edging in that gap, and then once he gets within that DRS range, I'm assuming that he will up that engine mixture, up the energy mix, and really go for the overtake and try and get it done in one go, because especially on the super soft tires, you don't want to battle for too long, otherwise they'll overheat. So he really needs to get this move done in one or possibly maybe in 2 tries, but not really any more than that. Otherwise his tires may fall away, because these super softs are quite temperamental, particularly the rears. Contrast as well, he's closer to Stewart on this lap than he was on the previous lap, just a couple tenths behind. Once again, pretty much draining his energy storage all the way up the inside on Stewart, really late on the brakes from the Toro Rosso. He gets it slowed down. Stewart looking for a bit of a cutback. Really good exit from the Force India there. Contrast defends the inside. These guys battling hard for the final place on the podium. They might be kind of giving up on the win here if they battle too much. And Stewart right around the outside. Contrast just about holds it on the inside. He does get ahead. Stewart not able to get that done. So Contrast up into 3rd. Beautiful maneuver from him. Great defending into turn 4. And he gets the move done. And he's now got Frio 3 seconds ahead of him, and who knows, I mean, if Contrast can make these tires work really well, possibly he'll be able to catch up to these 2 leaders. Maybe if they battle, Contrast isn't out of the question of a race win here yet. So just a quick update behind these guys. Dubsy's still in 5th on some pretty worn medium tires now, but he's still going on. Pete in 6th with some very new medium tires. I think he's just about catching Dubsy a little bit. Pure Gold in 7th, Entei in 8th, LGB 9th, and Darren in 10th. He's got James all over the back of him after that wing change. You've got to think this move's coming right now, as he's right behind him on the middle section of the track, the 2nd DRS section here in Bahrain, and it kind of looks around the outside. I don't think he was even really planning on overtaking there, but Darren broke very early into turn 11, and James kind of had to go because he was just put in that position by the Sauber. But yeah, both running really deep there, expecting a dive up the inside from James, and Darren runs deep, and James just kind of follows him. But they're side by side coming down towards the final corner. Now who's going to get the DRS? It should actually go, I think, to Darren is going to get the DRS, and if he gets a good exit here, he might just be able to repass the Williams. So let's see who's going to get the DRS open. Yeah, it is Darren, so he's going to put the engine mix back up into overtake mode there. He's running very low on fuel. Got to keep an eye on that before, just so he doesn't run out before the end of the race. But he does get the move just about done around the outside. He's going to have the inside line for turn 2, and he is ahead, but now James is going to come back at him along to turn 4. These guys running pretty low in terms of energy and fuel as well for Darren, but he is going to try and hold it all the way around the outside. Is he going to get this move done? He's got better traction on the soft compound tires, and James goes up into the points, and he's now got quite a big gap ahead of him to LGB. He does have very good pace on the soft compound tires, so we'll see if he's able to get any real headway done there. Entei, ooh, big moment from oversteer from the McLaren, almost loses the car, but Entei just hangs on. He's got Pure Gold ahead of him, who's running in a really great 7th place, I think, for Pure Gold. He's not normally one of the drivers, very high up in the points, but he's doing a good job here today, and yeah, what a great racing strategy from him. Ran nice and long on those soft compound tires to start, hopped onto the mediums for this this second stint, and is just trying to make this one stop work. It does look like Entei has the pace on him though on these newer soft compound tires, much fresher and softer rubber, and he's going to have a look along the main straight. Pure Gold defends hard already. He has no interest in letting this McLaren go. So here we go into turn 1. They're side by side. Entei with a lot of overspeed into turn 1. Later on the brakes on the better tires, and he does take the position. So Pure Gold, he tried to defend that, but he just doesn't have the tire life available to him to really hang on. So Entei now up into 7th. He's got 2.5 seconds up to Pete ahead of him, who's on the medium tires, but is still on a 2-stop. So interesting strategy. Actually, Pete's kind of falling away from Dubsy a bit. So Dubsy's still with great pace. Now we got the 2 battles here, one for the lead, one for third, between Contrast and Stewart, and then Stylen and Frio for the lead. Contrast, he's not able to catch up to this lead pair. They really need to battle hard, and him and Stewart need to kind of work together for a few laps, I think, if they want any hope of winning this race. But at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be a 2-horse finish here in Bahrain. Frio now has caught up to the back of Stylen, a little slower than perhaps expected. Stylen with some phenomenal pace at the moment on these medium compound tires. He's at incredible pace all race long. So Frio, what can he do? Possibly along the main straight. Bit of a short shift there, helping on the traction. Really good exit from Frio. He's half a second behind. Is he going to be close enough for a look down into turn 1 on the super soft compound tires? He'll be able to brake much later with those tires compared to the mediums, but he's not close enough, as now Stewart is, well, he sails past Contrast. Look at that, Contrast. Oh, he's in no ERS deployment, so he basically just let him go. Interesting tactics there from the Toro Rosso driver, but oh, now here we go. Sorry, Frio's had a much better exit out of turn 1. And he's close up behind Stylen going into 4, but he's not quite close enough. And these guys are going to battle all the way to the end of the race. I think Stylen holding on after a, well, phenomenal drive from him after the spin early on. He really has driven it beautifully. And hold on a moment, we got some traffic too. Running Tortoise kind of in the way here, so he needs to find a spot that he can let this leading pair through. Otherwise he will get some kind of penalty on blue flags. So let's see, is he able to get out of the way along this back straight? Yes, he does. So Tortoise lets the leaders go, but that's possibly hampered Stylen in the dirty air. He's going to have to defend down into 11. Two cars side by side through 11, looking for a bit of a cut back. There is Frio up the inside now through 11 and 12, all the way around the outside on the super soft tires. Surely not. He's going to get the move done, and he does. Beautiful overtake for the lead of the race from Frio. What a phenomenal move. All the way around the outside of turn 12. Beautiful stuff there from the Renault driver, but I don't think that it's over yet. Stylen, he's well within the DRS range. He's really close to that Renault. It's all about this exit that he can possibly get here, but look at the traction. The Frio gets out of the final corner. Beautiful for him on the super soft tires. And Stylen, he's up in overtake. He has some really good straight line speed. Look at how much he's closing on Frio. He's going to throw down the inside possibly. He's just not quite late enough on the brakes. A little bit deep there under braking, but it looks like Frio is going to win this Bahrain Grand Prix as he stretches his legs out through turns 2 and 3. So look at that, we've got the Force India and the Toro Rosso going side by side a little further back. But yeah, Stylen now, oh, big step of oversteer, and he needs to make sure that he can get these tires to the end. But yeah, it was a beautiful move from Frio, absolutely phenomenal. Now we got Contrast and Stewart battling really hard. Tortoise just desperately trying to find a way to avoid them. Oh, hold on a moment. Tortoise has messed it up. Tortoise has absolutely messed it up. He's ended up hitting the Toro Rosso. I think he was off on the curb there, trying to get out of the way. He's lost the car and careered into the Toro Rosso at turn number 8 there, and that's broken Contrast's wing. I think he's missing a part off of the front right. So yeah, that's That's not what you want to see at all, and contrast now with a damaged front wing, he's going to really struggle to hang with Stewart, so that might well have cost Contrast an opportunity to get a podium here in Bahrain. That's really, really unfortunate for him. He's looking great in this race, but yeah, it looks like Stewart now, he's pulling away. Look at that, 1.3 seconds, so now the Contrast has got that bit of damage. He's, yeah, look at the understeer, wow, look at that, he's really struggling to hit the apex, so yeah, unfortunately, that means that Contrast is pretty much out of the running of a podium here, unless we have some penalties. I haven't really been giving a track of them, but we'll see when everybody crosses the line. Of course, penalties. In Bahrain, it's not normally too much of a penalty-heavy track. Drivers don't get too many around here. But let's hop back now to P9 as we've got LJB and Pure Gold battling it for 8th and 9th place. LJB all the way around the outside into turn 1. That's a great move from him, and he gets that position. So up into 4 points for LJB. He has, well, he was actually missing from the Australian Grand Prix last week. Oh, Pure Gold really late on the brakes, almost runs into the back of the McLaren there. Just caught out a bit, I think, in the dirty air. Oh, his Contrast has left the session. So I think Contrast is disconnected. You know, maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a disconnection, or maybe he's just, you know, just furious what's happened there. I'm sure that we'll find that out after the race. But Contrast has left the session. His car is ghosted. And look at this Dubsy, after, you know, getting a drive-through penalty on lap 1, he's up into the top 4, so Dubsy takes that position, and Contrast is going to fall back very, very quickly. If he is able to rejoin, then you know, maybe he can salvage a few points. But yeah, that's real heartbreak for him. He was looking good for a podium, or at least battling for one with Stewart, and now, you know, he's probably not going to end up with anything. So yeah, it's all gone wrong here for Contrast. Really, really unfortunate for him. Race to forget, I think. But yeah, looking a little further down the field, who have we got possibly close to one another? So all these guys in the midfield, they're going to be grabbing a few more points. Oh, and Contrast's car, wow. So he's managed to rejoin the session. So it was a disconnection, and the game has pitted him. The game has pitted him. So Contrast is now going to drop out of the points, and yeah, that's his AI car has decided to take him into the pits, and that's him lost about 30 seconds with that wing change with 2 laps remaining. That's basically his race is as good as over. Tomato's going to pass him in the pits. Chucky might even pass him as well, possibly. No, I think Contrast will just about hold on to that. But yeah, wow, that really is a race to forget. Actually, his AI car is driving so slowly that I think Contrast is just about giving up at this point. I don't blame him. I really don't blame him for that. But yeah, unfortunate for him, really. 3rd place in Australia. Was looking for a possible 3rd here, and will come away with nothing. Got a feel for the guy, but well, Ente and P, they are all over the racetrack. I'm not sure if this is partly lag or some very aggressive defending. Pete has just completely messed up the braking for turn 11. Ente nabs the position. He's up into 5th. Great result for Ente at the moment. If he can hang on to this in the final lap of the race. Pete's had some tyre work problems so far in this race. And hold on a moment now. Look at this Stewart. He's just got himself within that 1 second mark of Stylen too. So we might possibly see a last lap battle for 2nd place here in Bahrain. Frio does look away and clear for the win here as Contrast leads the session again, and I doubt that one's a disconnection. I think that's I think that's more just frustration, and I don't think anybody can blame him for that. But there we go. Pete now he's up behind Ente. He's not quite close enough to get any kind of move done. The chance to repass is really gone, as Stewart, I think, he's made a mistake in the opening through turn 4 possibly, and he's just lost a bit of ground to Stylen. So Stylen holding on, and he'll desperately try and keep within 3 seconds just in case it's any penalty for Frio. I'm not aware if there is one or not, but we'll find that out as we cross the line. But yeah, Stewart, he's just outside of a second behind Stylen at the moment. We'll see if Stylen has any issues in terms of tyre wear through this final sector. It might be what's allowing Stewart to catch up in these closing corners. Stylen, yeah, look at that. He's kind of noticeably struggling up the hill on his rear tyres. So possibly Stewart, who's gained about half a second on him in a couple of corners, might actually be able to get a move done. He's got the car up and overtake, so possibly into the final corner for these two. Frio is just rounding the final corner, so here we go. Is Stewart going to get anything done? Oh, possibly, but hold on, we're going to shift to Frio, who comes across the line to win the race in Bahrain. Beautiful from him. They're side by side as they cross the line, and Stylen hangs on just to Byr. I think Stuart might have had a penalty there as Dubsy crosses the line for 4th place, but it's a first win for Frio, I think, in AOR. Beautiful drive from him. A bizarre strategy, soft, super soft, but he made it work and comes away with a great victory. Entei in 5th, Pete in 6th, LGB, Nab 7th, Pure Gold in 8th place. Then we got James, the winner last time out. He only grabs 2 points today. Disappointing race for him. Darren in 10th. He gets the final points position. The Salvers were in a really good position early in the race, but they kind of fell away a bit as the race carried on. Harry Tomato, he will come home and take 11th place, just outside of the points. Chucky in 12th in the Haas. MLGH will finish in 13th in the Ferrari as the fireworks are going here in Bahrain. Beautiful to see. And then we got Contrast, who limps across the line in 14th place. Wow, what a disappointing race for Contrast. You just got a feel for him. Wimpinator, very, very quiet race from him. He had some problems early on and just really kind of been nowhere today. He's normally somebody that's very quick, so a bit of an off race for Wimpinator in 15th. And then we had Grunning Tortoise, who finished 2 laps down in 16th. So obviously had that problem. Obviously had that problem with running into Contrast, and I'm not quite sure what happened there between those two drivers. I'm sure that we'll hear something about that in the stewards room next week. So really unfortunate, but what a great race for Frio. Really bold strategy. I think he came from 12th on the grid, and just all-round excellent result for him onto the super soft tires on lap 18, and gets the win. Pulled off a beautiful overtake on Stylen, who you have to say had a phenomenal race as well. Really brilliant race from Stylen considering the spin. He showed some fantastic pace. I think sort of what was probably the quickest car out there today in terms of raw pace. But great result. And then Stewart as well led the race early on after Dubsy pulled into the pits. He grabs the final spot on the podium. Dubsy, man, what could have been for Dubsy? I mean, that drive-through, he finishes 14 seconds off. So, could he have possibly been up there battling for the win if he'd not had that drive-through? I'd think so. But yeah, he finishes in 4th. Entei, good result for him in 5th place. Good points. I think that he'll be quite happy about that. Pete is in 6th. LGB in 7th. Pure Gold in 8th. And I've just missed out on a couple of people there. So let's see. James finished 9th, and Darren in the final points-paying position in 10th for Sauber. Double points finishes for Sauber and McLaren today. I think they'll be quite happy with that. But wow, what a race. Absolutely crazy race here in Bahrain. We had a great battle, for the win there in the final few laps between Stylen and Frio. Really good from those guys. And then obviously a little bit of controversy as well between Contrast and Tortoise. I think we'll hear something about that. I'll give you guys an update on it next week. Find out if anything happens in the stewards there. But pretty crazy race, and really enjoyable one to watch. So just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us, and if you want to catch more of AOR racing, we will be here next week at the same time, so it'll be 10 a.m. British time, so that is 8 p.m. Eastern Australian time, or whatever time zone Melbourne is in. I think it's called Eastern Australian, but it might not be that exact sort of name. But 10 a.m. British time next week, and that'll be round 3 in China, in Shanghai. Brilliant track there. Lots of interesting tire strategy on this game at Shanghai. So that'll be a great race. We'll see who is able to kick on and maybe pick up a first win of the season. We've had 2 new winners in the first 2 races. James in Australia and now Frio in Bahrain. Great results for them. And really interesting season. It seems like the decision to turn off the racing line has really mixed the racing up. And to be honest, I'm quite glad now, after having watched that race and having seen a bit of the Australian race, that has happened. If you're looking for some more racing today from AOR, then you can go ahead and check out the Xbox race that was running at the same time as this one. Always great racing over there. And then we'll also have racing this evening from the European leagues, and then also America a little later on. So for the European leagues, we've got the top splits from PS4, PC, and Xbox, and those are running at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 9 p.m. So that's PS4 at 7, PC at 8, and Xbox at 9. And then, that's the F1 tiers, the top splits from all of those. And then all of the other splits, so all the F2, 3, 4, and I think we even have an F5 broadcast for PS4 as well. Those will all be running at the standard 8 p.m. time, along with all the other races for AOR. So it's really just PS4 Split 1 and then Xbox Split 1 that are offset from the regular time. And then we will also have the American League race later on in the night. So that's going to happen at I think 8 p.m. Eastern time in the US. So that's about 1 in the morning here in the UK. So if you're up late, I assume that maybe for those that have been awake since 6 in the morning watching the Japanese Grand Prix, that might be a bit of a stretch. But for those of you who are up late, then make sure you catch that because there's some good racing. I've got a broadcast from the PC tier over there with some pretty big names on that grid as well. So yeah, thank you to everybody for joining me this morning, and I hope you all have a great Sunday, and make sure to catch those races later on today.